Tension mollet.
That speaks to the boss.
Smaller, yeah. My baby, yeah.
Hello, beautiful people. It's all about politics today, and you know how we do. We bring to you different people from all over the globe. And today we have with us Ladipo. He's a lawyer and also a political analyst. How you doing, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's actually pleased to finally meet you.
Same here.
So, first of all, I actually know much about you, but I would still love my people viewing to get to know Ladipo Johnson.
Well, in a nutshell, I'm a legal practitioner.
Okay.
I'm a legal practitioner. I'm also a politician, political commentator. I am the current president of the African Institute for Enterprise Development and Management. So I believe in doing things to equip and empower the youth towards the development of our country, Nigeria.
Talking about the work on development of our country, how well can you actually emphasize on that?
Well, unfortunately, most Nigerians at the moment are not happy with the state of the economy. We're not happy with where we find ourselves as a country. It's been 60 years of trial and error. We haven't achieved what we could achieve as a people. Nigeria is a blessed country. If it comes to natural resources, virtually every state in Nigeria has what it can use to develop at its own pace and to bring succor to its people. But unfortunately, we haven't been able to harness all these mineral resources, oil, and natural gifts from God that we have all around our country. So it has become necessary for everyone to sit down, take a deep look, and try to see what they can do to ensure that we have good governance in this country. Because without good governance, without the proper leadership, we cannot move to the levels we ought to be in. And we're hoping that things will change. 2023 is around the corner.
Definitely.
We hope we can get things moving.
Talking about things that have been ups and downs lately, and we all know it hasn't been easy lately, like ups and downs, not even ups and downs, it has been down totally. Like for the past decades, how well can you rate, I'm not trying to bring up party here now, but how well can you rate the recent governor and president in charge to the past?
Well, everyone would have their personal opinion on the matter. Personally speaking, I think that I take it you're talking about this republic. When we started in 1999 with President Obasanjo, Nigeria was almost like a para nation. But he did a lot of traveling. He put us back on the map. By the time he had left, our debts had been cleared, and the economy was beginning to face the right direction. We had communication industry was going strong at that time. GSM had come in, communications investments are coming into that sector and into other sectors as well. Fast forward to where we are today. We saw we thought power would have been better handled by now. We're losing companies to Ghana because we don't have stable power. I know of tiny countries like Gambia, Senegal, they have electric power. And that makes it easier and cheaper for companies to produce whatever they want to produce.
It's more cheaper for people to live there.
Exactly. So these are just a little thing, just some things, and many, many, many things. I'm not saying this government hasn't performed at all, but I'm saying that the cost of governance has skyrocketed. They're borrowing, this government has borrowed more than any other government in history. And unfortunately for us, insecurity is at the worst stages it has ever been at.
Now, I think that's the main reason why we're here today, because of insecurity, and I'm glad you actually mentioned it. So, talking about insecurity, what can you say about insecurity in Nigeria presently?
At the moment, presently, there's no need to say it. Every Nigerian knows that school children are being kidnapped, people are being kidnapped on a daily basis. Bandits are operating in virtually every part of the country. Boko Haram have taken parts of Borno and I think Yobe State as well. Apparently, they are in control and have hoisted their flag in an area the size of the country of Belgium. So we've had it. We haven't had it this bad, apart from the Civil War, but we haven't had it this bad. And unfortunately, it would seem that this government is way in beyond its depths. It has a lot of rhetoric, a lot of people talking on behalf of government, but really nothing has happened. We are not on top of this, and it is a shame because we have a good military. We have good men and women serving this country who have some of them have paid the ultimate sacrifice with their lives. But I do not see that the government has shown the political will to tackle the insurgency, the banditry, the kidnapping that we have at the moment.
You know, like, I usually follow some things, like, not even online, in TVs and all that. And sometimes when the government or when the president speaks or talks, the masses reply, most especially the youth. You see them talking about how would the president be paying to rescue people from the kidnappers. Is that not like giving them the room to as well, like do that, encouraging them more to do what they are doing? What's your take on that?
My take on that is that, for instance, a few days back, we heard that the Boko Haram shared and distributed palliatives for some residents of the areas it is controlling in Yobe and for the end of Ramadan. So that shows you that these people do not just have the money to buy weapons. They can also give food and give gifts to people in areas they have conquered. It is a bad policy for governments to continue to enrich people who are holding us hostage. But it just shows that it's some form of desperation because they have no means of saying, okay, let's curtail this thing. Let's try to rescue those that have been kidnapped already. And I think generally it's a it's a systemic failure of the security system that we have. I am surprised that after all these years, it's been over 6 years, that we haven't adapted to fight this sort of war. It's a different sort of war. It's you need more than anything intelligence gathering. But the people in the areas affected do not trust government. They do not trust government because some people have said they have experienced the fact that they reported that, oh, we suspect this person, We suspect that person, and a few days after, they come and raise the entire village. So, is it that our security forces have been penetrated? Or what is happening? Now, this government hasn't been able to put a lid on what is happening. And then it is spreading. And you see, and you start to get the feeling that we have misplaced priorities.
Do you think we're feeling that we've misplaced the priorities or we're already lost it?
This government has lost its priorities. You spend more time, maybe at times the DSS, spending time on people criticizing the government, even though they're criticizing constructively, instead of looking for the people who are sponsoring and are encouraging this banditry and insurgency.
So, I'm not going to mention them, but someone actually came out saying, he's a very popular person, saying that this president, this 2023 coming election, that it should go back to the West, is it? Yeah, the West, the Yoruba land, that if they can't give it to the Yoruba people, they are going to, there will be war. So what's your take on that word?
Well, I'm a Yoruba man, and I believe that we should look for the best person, male or female, Christian or Muslim, to lead this country out of the doldrums that we find ourselves. Now, if the politicians sit down and begin to talk about zoning, because zoning is not in the Constitution.
Yeah, definitely.
But if they sit down and say, okay, let us zone it, it's coming from the north. Buhari has been in government for 8 years, or at that time it would be 8 years. Let's zone it, let it come to the south. If it is, fine. But if you're doing zoning and rotation, it has to rotate to the southeast.
Okay.
To be fair, because Obasanjo was a Yoruba man, is a Yoruba man.
Definitely.
President Goodluck Jonathan is from the South. So it is only fair that a Southeasterner be considered if we're going that route. If they are not going that route, then they have to look for a square peg in the square hole. And wherever that person comes from, that's what we should look at, and it should be put to the people of the country. But I don't think it's a given that it has to go to the southwest.
Okay, we'll be right back. Once we come back, we'll still be talking to Ladipo Johnson.
If I ever lie to the world, I can never lie to myself. If I ever lose to the world, I can never.
Talking about insecurity in Nigeria, you mentioned so many things, and of course, definitely, we all know in Nigeria that insecurity is actually not a good thing, and it's actually affecting businesses. It's making people to divert to that, like going to different countries to go establish there. So, to your own thing, what do you think we can do about insecurity?
Well, at the moment, things are so bad. I think the first thing is that the people in various parts of the country must feel that they have a government that is not sectional, that represents them. That means that when these people have people representing, in the Southeast, for instance, is like, says, okay, yes, we want the presidency, or even if we do not have the presidency, we know that this is fair to the Southeast. It will reduce the calls for nationalism and independence of the Southeast. Same thing with the Southwesterners, the call for Oduduwa Republic. Mm-hmm. So the people must begin to see that government is serious about tackling the inequity in the system. The government is serious about creating a federating relationship that is fair to each section of the country. In which case we've come to the issue of restructuring, by whatever name you want to call it. There was a time that it was the North that really propped up Nigeria with the groundnut pyramids and what have you. Now it's gone to the south, and a bit of the south is the oil-producing communities.
Okay.
Now, we must begin to look at a way of ensuring that people benefit more from what is coming out of their states, of their communities, and are not being made to suffer. Where a situation where you have the level of directors at the NNPC, where you have more northerners than even people from the South. Doesn't all go for it. Because the South people feel that this oil is coming from our place. Yet, being controlled, in quotes, by the North. So we need to look at that. You see, your question is about solving insecurity. I'm not even talking about the police or the army. I'm talking about the things that surround it. Exactly. Then, of course, we have to rejig and re-energize the military, the police. We have to look at our borders. Part of the problem, a large part of the problem, is that the borders of Nigeria are so porous. You can graze and bring in cattle, maybe come down from Mali all the way to Nigeria, go out again, and not be tracked. A country where that can happen, I assure you, they can also bring in arms and munitions.
So people have actually been saying that it should be better for us to actually just divide this country. It's too big for someone to rule. So what's the problem with that?
Nigeria is not too big for anyone to rule.
Because some people are saying we have
we have too many states in Nigeria. We have everyone, and some people are still calling for their own states. The cost of governance is too high. Nigeria is not big. In Australia, there are 6, let me get it right, I think about 6 states and 2 territories. Every state in Australia, bar 2, individual state is geographically bigger than Nigeria. And they only have about 21 million people. Now you have 36 states, about 200 plus million people, and your size is not even up to that. And they say by 2050, we'll have about 300 million people. So we're going to have problems. The density and what have you is going to just create problems for us. But in going our separate ways, that some people have said, I believe that the energy we will spend in trying to go our separate ways, we should spend in trying to bring about an equitable, federated relationship in Nigeria. Change this system that is not working. If you do not come back home.
Okay, sorry to cut you short.
No problem.
Talking about changing of the constitution and all that, changing of the old game and all that, 2023 is coming. Definitely elections around the corner. Who are you voting for? But before we go into that, we'll go for a commercial break. We'll be right back.
If I ever lie to the world, I can never lie to myself. If I ever lose to the world, I can never lose to.
Before we go for a break, I actually asked you a question that 2023 is around the corner, and who are you voting for?
Well, devoid of zoning, ethnicity, or religion, I have, for the past few years been actively working with the former governor of Kano State, two-time governor, Senator As I said, devoid of ethnicity and religion. I'm a Christian, I'm Yoruba. Well, that is one person that I know that on day one, if he's made an elected president of Nigeria on day one, knows what to do, has the capacity to do it, and has the empathy and the fear of God to ensure that each tribe, each region of this country gets its fair share in this country. He hasn't indicated that he's interested in 2023.
Okay.
But I assure you, a lot of us will be pushing him to say, throw your hat in the ring. Let us go to the people of Nigeria. Let's talk to them. Let's show them. And he has a lot to show. He was Minister of Defense. He was governor, and everyone saw what he did in Kano. Totally transformed the state. Educationally, even after leaving government, he is still very much into the empowerment of the youth with education. What we now have to do is to sit with him and say, okay, what is your take on some form of restructuring? If we are going to restructure, what are we going to do? What are we going to go to the people with? What are we going to go to the youth of the country with? The youth of the country demand that they want someone who is more dynamic, maybe younger or more dynamic, someone who can think outside the box,
Someone who can relate.
who they can relate to.
Who they can ask questions whenever they feel like
to
asking
lead
questions.
the country. And I feel that, in all humility, I feel he's such a person. And I'm the sort of person at any stage when I feel that his beliefs have changed and he's not in tandem with us, I'll tell him that no. Because I'm younger than you are, and I have much more to lose than you do if this country doesn't, if we don't turn this country around. But basically, that question came out of the blue, but I have to tell the truth. That is what I believe in. That is the person I believe in.
Okay, talking about the youth again, so what can you say about the youth in general?
They are numbers count. They must understand that government belongs to them and that it is through government that they will put in place policies that will help them in their private businesses, whether it is entertainment, whatever they want to do. We now have the African the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. And our government still hasn't done anything to put us at an advantage. It is not equipping the youth, it's not equipping medium-sized and small-scale businesses so that they can sell into Ghana, sell into Togo, sell into Sierra Leone or wherever. Why can't Nigeria be the hub for IT, ICT in West Africa or Africa? So there are many things any government can do to start to reduce youth unemployment. But the most important thing is for the youth themselves to participate and enforce and ensure that many out of their numbers are in government and in governance come 2023.
Okay, before I let you go, there is a final word I want to hear from you. Let me not say final word, but I still actually want to hear something from you. about the politics of today in general. What do you have to say?
Well, I think what we've been discussing is the politics of today.
Definitely.
The politics of today, unfortunately, I'm a politician. And unfortunately, politicians, those who are active, are still where they're at. Talking to a lot of them, they're still sitting and waiting for one person, one godfather, to bring over some money. In which case, I know already that if that is allowed to happen, there will be no changes come 2023. And this country might just implode. Politics of today, I am hoping that a lot of the silent majority who know better will get involved, and we will minimize the impact and control of money politics in Nigeria. Anyone that spends so much money getting elected is going there to remove their money. But some at the grassroots, unfortunately, do not realize that or do not care about that. It is for us to try to bring in people who know better and tell them that coming to politics is not a dirty game. It is the way it is played by some people that makes it dirty. Come into it. As many Nigerians as possible. I believe most Nigerians are good and want this country to advance. Come into it. Get involved. Doesn't mean you have to contest, but get involved in the process. Ensure that you are only represented by one of you. Like-minded people. One of the like-minded people that you know. Come into the game. Get involved. Let's elect leaders that will begin to take us properly into the 21st century. We haven't started.
We haven't started. We heard it all from Ladipo Johnson. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate that. We hope whenever we call you again, you're going to answer us.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Pass me that ginger, me I want back. Now go past that side, them guys they para. I know you like to relate. That can be wicked and wine, them they fire. Aye. You tell me say you holy, oh. I don't want you hear this go from my area. Guess them yakpa, oh. Guess them plenty from my area. If you want spend money, oh, your pocket go empty from my area. Them they form only, oh. Let's see the smoke only from my area. Danger, they some liquor, ayo. We get them just one feel the vibe. They just want have a nice time. Just one feel the vibe. Just want have a nice time. Get them just one feel the vibe. Just want have a nice time.